Hello everybody, welcome to Maths with Thaddeus, not Maths Made Easy anymore. Today we are covering IGCSE Maths topic 1.4, fractions, decimals, and percentages. So let's get straight into it. Here's a screenshot from the syllabus. And the first thing I'm starting with is just fractions. What are fractions? Well, fractions is a fraction is like a ratio between two numbers, or a number divided by another number. And you write it with a number, a line, and then another number. This is pretty basic. You probably already know this. But this is the same thing as 3 divided by 4. And as you get to higher level maths, this is kind of like the preferred way of writing division. And sometimes it's more useful to have the number in a fractional form than like 0.75, like the decimal answer to this. And here's some terminology you need to know. The number at the top is called the numerator, and the number at the bottom is called the denominator. And here's some more vocab of just like terms you need to know of different types of fractions. There's proper fractions like 3/4, 1/2, 7/9, for example. Basically, these are all fractions where the numerator is less than the denominator, and therefore the answer is less than 1. So their value of these fractions are always going to be less than 1, because if you have a small number divided by a big number that's bigger than it, it's going to be less than 1. The improper fractions are going to be something like 7/2, or even 4/4, which is equal to 1, or 9/3. These are all fractions where the numerator is larger than the denominator, or even the same as the denominator. Usually you would write something like this as just 1, or even something like this as 3. But yeah, these are all improper. Then mixed numbers, which you wouldn't call them mixed fractions, you call them mixed numbers, is you have a whole number and a proper fraction. And this is basically the same thing as 7/4, but it's written in a way because this is 4/4 plus 3/4. So you write the what's called the biggest whole number you can get out of it, and then you just write whatever's at the end, and then you write that as 1 plus 3/4, which you just remove the plus sign to get 1 3/4. So you also need to know how to convert between these two. It's very simple. I'll first start from mixed numbers to improper fractions. So if you have a number like 2 and 5/7, first thing you do is you do 2 times 7, which is 14, and then you write this as 14/7 plus 5/7. You make sure you write the both have the same denominator, and you just add the numbers on top and keep the same denominator. Get 19/7. And the way you go about going backwards from this is finding the largest multiple of 7 that is less than 19. So the largest multiple of 7 times 1 would be 7. 7 times 2 would be 14. 7 times 3 would be 21, which is greater than 19. So the largest one would be 14. So then you would subtract 14 from this. So 19 minus 14 equals 5. And then you just do 14 divided by 7, which would be 2. And then you write this as the number, and then you write that as the numerator to the fraction. So yeah, hopefully you understood. This is how you convert between improper and mixed fractions, mixed numbers. Next, you have to learn how to simplify fractions. So basically, the premise of simplifying fractions is that the number 6, the fraction 6/4, has the same exact value as 3/2, because if you do 6 divided by 4, you get 1.5, and 3 divided by 2, you get 1.5. But this is considered the most simpler way, the simplest form of the fraction, because the numbers are the smallest. And basically, how you make sure you get this the simplest form of a fraction is what's called, you write the fraction. So let's say 8 over 12, and you want to find common factors. So basically, numbers that divide into both of them and give a whole number still. You want to find the highest common factor, actually, the largest number you can. So for example, for both of these, you can divide them by 2, which is a common factor, but that's not the highest one. Actually, the highest one would be 4. And if you divide whatever you do at the top, you do also do it at the bottom, you could ensure that the value of the value of the fraction stay the same. So you get 2 over 3. So yeah, sometimes it's actually really simple. If the number on top is a multiple of the number on bottom, then it's just going to be 35 divided by 7, which is just 5. And it's not even a fraction, it's just a whole number. So yeah. Next is about converting fractions to decimals. This is incredibly easy. If you have something like 19 over 21, the decimal of that would just be 19 divided by 21, because that's kind of the definition of a fraction. And sometimes you can do this by any sort of method of division you can like. If you can use a calculator, you can use a calculator, and then you get whatever answer that is, which I actually don't know. You can calculate that at home, but for something like 3 over 4, that's just 3 divided by 4, which is 0.75. Yeah. Now maybe a bit of a more harder thing to do would be converting from decimals to fraction, but it's still not that hard. If you have a decimal like 0.73, what you want to do is you want to count how many decimal places you have. So here you have 1 decimal place, and then you have 2 decimal places. Then the next thing you do is you just delete this decimal point. So then you would just get 0.73, which would just be 73. And then you put it over, you make 73 your numerator, and then your denominator would just be the count. It would just be 1 followed by however many decimal places you have. So it would be 2 of them. So it would be 73 over 100. And then sometimes, for example, 0.75 would be 75 over 100. You can simplify this, and a lot of times in exams you will be asked to simplify. And then if you can divide both sides by 25 to get 3 over 4. So yeah. Next are percentages. Percentages is basically a way of also talking about numbers or values, where 100%, this is the percentage symbol, is equal to 1. There's also a lot more of like increasing by a certain percentage or decreasing percentage by a certain percentage. A lot of stuff you have to know how to do, but that's just not in this specific topic of IGCSE. They have a whole other topic in number. In the same number, they have like 1.12 or something. Would be about just specifically percentages. But now all you need to know is how to convert from percentages to decimals to fractions. So converting from percentages to decimal is very simple, because here you just divide by 100 and then you lose the percentage sign. So example, if you have 37%, that would just be 0.37. And then obviously you just multiply it by 100 the other way around, and then you add a percentage sign. Yeah, and then for fractions, the easiest way, there's actually multiple ways. You can either, if the numerator is a factor of 100, you can multiply, you can kind of like unsimplify it so that 25, my bad, over so that the denominator becomes 100, and then you can just lose the 100 to get 25%. Or a lot of times the method that works regardless of what your denominator is you just convert it to a decimal by dividing the numbers and then just multiplying by 100 to get the fraction. And you can honestly just do that in one step. Like you put this into a calculator and then you just don't write it, the 0 point part. So yeah. Wait, that's just what was here before. Yeah. Okay, this is a slightly harder bit. So for decimals, we have terminating decimals, right? Terminating decimals are decimals that have an ending. So 0.75 or 0.3735229 all the way up to like 1. There could be like 1,000 numbers in between 9 and 1, but it still ends. Then there's non-terminating decimals. Now in this, there's the recurring and the non-recurring ones. Recurring ones is non-terminating decimals are ones where you have 0.37, 37, 37. So it just goes on forever, but there's a repeatable pattern. Or it could be a bit more complex, so like the first like 3 decimal points don't repeat, and then it's just we have some random pattern that repeats. It can be as complicated you want, as long as the ending part, like there's a part that repeats, then that is a recurring. A non-recurring, non-terminating thing, decimal, would just be one that just has a random pattern, like, and there's no way to predict it. Or like pi is a very famous one. These are irrational numbers. These type of numbers are always going to be irrational, which means you can't write them as a fraction, but you can write the recurring ones as a fraction. And so obviously you can't just multiply by 100, because that would just give you 37.3737, and you just have a recurring decimal as the numerator. But what we want is to have a whole number or an integer as the numerator. So to do that, there's something we can do. So first, you make the variable x. This is just a way to do it, make it easier. So you just write the x to equal the recurring decimal you want to turn into a fraction. So I'll use 0.3737, which you usually write as 0.37 like that. You just put a line over the part that repeats, or sometimes you would put a dot over each number that repeats. But yeah, for now I'm just gonna write it like this, and then you would see how many numbers is it that repeat. If, for example, it's 2 numbers that repeat, and I'm saying 2 digits that repeat, right? Just digits that repeat, because for example it was 0.57373, it's only the 73 that repeats. So you would only consider this as 2 digits that repeat. So I got kind of sidetracked, but yeah, you take the amount of digits that repeat, and then you write 1 followed by that many zeros. So here would be 200. So it would be 100x, right? And then you would multiply this by 100 by moving the decimal point, to the right 2 times, just like normal multiplication. And then it would still have the same pattern, just kind of shifted to the left a bit. And then you would take the number on its own. So that would be 0.373737. And then you would subtract it. And then, so how you would subtract this is you can literally just know that since all these 7s match up and all these 3s match up, these will all just cancel out. And all you would left with is 37. And what would this equal? Well, 100x minus x would just be 99x, which means x is equal to 37 over 99. Now, sometimes when you do this, the number you get over here won't actually be a whole number. It will be a terminating decimal. It would be for sure a terminating decimal, but it might not be a whole number. Because if you have, like, for example, let's take this number. 100 of that would be 57.3737, and then x would just be 0.5737. So only this part cancels out, and you still have 57.3 minus 0.5, which would be 56.8, and then that would be 99x. And then all you would have to do is just multiply both sides by 10 to get 990x equals 568, and then you can just divide both sides. That was maybe a bit complicated, but hopefully you understand this. With practice, it gets easier. I'm probably going to link some practice papers or like practice questions in the description. And actually, I think that's it. So thanks for watching. Hope you do well in your exams, and goodbye.